If you clicked on this, chances are you have probably seen at least one of my trios challenges in the past. And one thing you may have noticed is that in this series of challenges, the trios have never actually fought each other directly. However, that is finally being changed. Now, a lot of the reason that I have avoided this idea in the past is because of the works that other creators have done on it. But then I realized that, similar to the RT upload, I could have the trios fight out in Knockout as bots. Here is the bracket we will be using for this challenge, but with no biology team. Starting with the Wild West versus Stunt Show trios, we'll see Shelly run in before her team and get a few supers off before being defeated. Once backup comes in, the Wild West is able to take out the rest of the Stunt Show pretty quickly. Once round 2 starts, Colt is able to get a few supers off and effectively weaken the enemy team. The Wild West pushes forward, bringing the fight to a 2-on-1, and the Bonnie ends up just sitting there before kinda jumping off. However, we will see her eventually cornering herself before being defeated. The Wild West will win this one, and next up we have Shaman Tribe versus Star Force. Nita plays it risky by rushing ahead without her team, but she's able to nearly bring down Ruffs, and moments later Bo is able to show up and defeat the Squeak, but he does end up getting defeated himself. The first round will end with the Shaman surviving. Bo starts off the second round right by immediately taking out the Eve, and they immediately advance forward, finishing off the Star Force. So as for this match, the Shaman Tribe moves forward, and next up we have Retropulse Gang versus the Snowtail Staff. This starts off bad for Mr. P as he immediately gets crushed, and Gale is not too far behind, but Lou is able to start a comeback drive and finish off the BB, before ending up in a prolonged standoff with the Bull. Lou is able to effectively freeze him a few times before he charges away, repeating said actions before he gets crushed in a single shot. The following round immediately gets chaotic as the bots just want to spam their supers, and then it seems as though a BB bubble almost takes out the Snow Staff entirely, as they shortly get finished off, leading to the most predicted team moving on to the quarterfinals. Next, we'll see the Junker family face off with a superhero trio. Pam will start this by running in and getting wrecked. Jessie will almost get a full team wipe before being taken out herself, and Nani will close the round for a win. In the following round, Jessie failed at her team wipe, but her teammates were not too far behind, and they end up securing themselves a victory. That brings us to our next match, featuring the dreaded Arcade trio. However, things are immediately going to go rough, as the Mystics group in a pack and destroy the Arcade trio. The second round ends up being no better as Terra can spam supers and the Arcade trio is brought off the throne. Moving on to our next match, we have the Gem Miners versus Gift Shop. This time Jackie's just going to run in and get taken out, but Mike comes in clutch as he's able to clear 2 of the enemies. The center structure of the map gets scratched before Griff is defeated. Mike makes some mistakes moving into round 2, and this time the Gem Miners will actually be taken out. Jackie supers nothing to start the third round. Edgar almost seems like he's not a bot, and then we will see that Carl and Colette have a very weird interaction. But then Carl takes her out. This leads to a Gem Miner victory. Moving on to the next match, we have Pirates and Townsfolk. And right away you'll almost notice that the Townsfolk bots don't really stand a chance, as the Pirate bots push their way through everyone. In the second round, you'll notice that the Pirates are able to once again wipe out the enemy and therefore win the match. Closing off the first round, we have the Undead Trio versus the Mexican Entertainers. Almost immediately, Frank is in a temporary 1v3, but he does get off some valuable supers before being taken out. Ems will end up defeating the Amber, and then she'll have a lengthy 1v1 with the Poco. She takes him out. In the following round, Primo goes immediately for the MVP play, and his trio defeats the Undead pretty fast. And in the final round, the Mexican Entertainers perform a very fast team wipe. The Undead trio is out, and that is all for the first round. Starting off the quarterfinals, we have the Shaman Tribe versus the Wild West trio. Spike and Shelly make themselves a deadly combo, and they win the first round without any help from Colt. The second round starts off interesting because Spike makes some mistakes, but it turns around because, as always, the Wild West trio never fails to amaze. So the Wild West trio will be in the semifinals, and now we move on to Retropulse versus Junker family. Right away we see 3 brawlers kind of get vaporized simultaneously, leaving BB to put up a fight that she just can't handle. The second round is a lot more chaotic, and the Retropulse gang wins seemingly without struggle. The final round has a very similar result, giving the Retropulse gang a win. So Retropulse move on, and now we have the Mystic Wanderers versus the Gem Miners. Jackie's gonna go on a weird solo mission to eliminate Sandy. Her teammates will eliminate Jean and do funny pins. And the Carl bot will take out the Terra before it's too late. The second round is more of an abrupt chaos, but the gem miners just all get defeated and the mic kinda just stands there. And to make things worse, Jackie supers no one to start the third round and then just dies. Carl forgets the super exists, and then they just leave a bot thrower to represent them. So the Mystic Wanderers will be in the next one. Next up we have the Pirates versus Mexican Entertainers. Penny's bot is going to start off pretty well, making a valuable trade-off of herself for 2 enemies, allowing a Daryl and Tick to have a 2v1 against a Primo, which of course Daryl has no problem handling. In the second round you'll see Primo repeat his hero maneuver, and the Pirates pretty much all set on fire, and Primo's able to slowly but surely secure a victory. Stepping on to the final round, you'll see absolute chaos again, but this time, bots of the Mexican Entertainers trio had a better execution, leaving them to win the match. This match is going to summarize the quarterfinals, and here is the bracket so far for this challenge. Our first match for the semifinals is the Wild West trio versus the Retropauls gang, and for the remaining rounds we will be using a new, smaller map. BP and Bull ironically bullied the Wild West trio in the first round, even catching a stationary Colt, but in the following round the Wild West trio shows them what they're made of and they make a comeback. Then in the third round both teams rush into battle, and to almost no surprise, Shelly carries. She ends up being responsible for the defeat of all 3 Retropauls brawlers, thus eliminating the team that was most voted to win. So the Wild West trio will be in the finals. Next up we have the Mexican Entertainers versus the Mystic Wanderers, and almost immediately the Mexican Entertainers melt the enemy. And in round 2 it's almost the same, where the Poco and Primo are able to venture across the tiny map and eliminate the last of the Mystic Wanderers, which will take them to the final. So the next match will look like, and also welcome everyone who just skipped the final game, Mexican Entertainers versus the Wild West. In the first round, Colt's able to get a quick super off and able to deal heavy damage to the enemy. However, round 2 has an abrupt change of events where the Mexican Entertainers actually turn around and defeat the Wild West, which will put us into the one round to decide it all. And sorry, but you need a moment to think, who's it gonna be? I hope you have your bets placed, because in this final bit of combat, the Mexican Entertainers crushed the Wild West trio, winning the whole thing. We had 16 trios enter and only 1 come out at the end. Here is your final bracket, which I find very unique because I feel as though if we played it again we would definitely have different results. Which leads me to close this off by saying, this was definitely a very exciting challenge. Even though I had to delete 1 name to fit them all in the bracket, I feel like direct competition between the trios adds a lot more to this series of contests. I definitely might look into more ideas like this in the future. However, that is all I have for today. Thank you very much for sticking to the end, and I will catch you next time.